Exodus 22, 2 through 3. Bible's really clear. Somebody comes into your house and you hit them with a rock and it kills them, you're not guilty of anything. That's what it says. Luke 22, 36 through 38. Missionaries, we got to keep our context in context. Missionaries could take a sword. So it would appear having a weapon of self-defense, it certainly wasn't to kill converts or people who don't convert. It was to protect yourself as a missionary. Matthew 5, we've got a verse that a lot of people use. I think the Amish would be inclined to use this, maybe Quakers, maybe Mennonites, that we're supposed to turn the other cheek. Many people have concluded that that actually means you cannot defend yourself. You need to let somebody do to you whatever they're going to do because of that verse. I would like to suggest in context a couple of things. That it's not a verse about self-defense. It's about when somebody offends you, when they insult you, when they come after you with snarkiness. It doesn't mean that somebody's going to slap you. You can't put yourself up, but if somebody's going to insult, like the French do with the glove, with an insult, that you can let go. You're a Christian. Go ahead, insult me. Your words are not going to kill me. I know who I am. I know what my position is. I know what my afterlife is. I don't think it has anything to do with self-defense. Now we get into some of the indirect verses, and there are a lot. John 18, 10 through 11. Malchus, if you remember, Peter, just trying to defend Jesus, cuts off the ear of the servant of the high priest, and he's told to, hey, knock it off with the sword business, and some people would conclude you shouldn't ever use a sword. I don't think so. Husbands are to protect their wives. Now, it doesn't say with weapons, but we're the stronger ones. We're the ones who are supposed to make sure that our wife and kids live in peace. Paul sometimes fled when there was danger. Paul sometimes stayed when there was danger. From the Bible, I learned that life is precious. I learn about Imago Dei, that we're created in man's image, and life is precious, and it should be protected. Israel used weapons. Now, some people would say that America is Israel. We are not. What do we learn from this? Just the same, a principle that carries forward into our culture and context, that God's okay with people using weapons. Now, you might argue that's just for the military. Okay, I'll grant you that. But just the same, God does not automatically say that guns are sinful in and of themselves. Furthermore, there's no commandment to not defend yourself or use weapons. I know that's an argument from silence, hence the indirect column. The sixth commandment, thou shalt not murder. But we also need to remember that if somebody does murder, what happens to them? They get killed. There's a big difference between murder and killing. Murder is the knockout game and you kill somebody. Killing somebody is putting them on trial, discovering they're guilty, and then sentencing them to death because they murdered. Killing, murder, different. When you're a soldier, you kill, you don't murder if the war is just. We've also got our Romans 13:1 that we should obey the government. Two thoughts about that. It's the government's job to protect from the bad guys in general, but furthermore, we want to obey the laws of the government. And so if the government says you can't have guns or you can't have them here or there, I've got to ask myself the question, is having a gun a biblical right? Because if I can't conclude that the Bible says to not own a gun is a sin, then I've got to obey the government. Did you catch that? The Bible is really clear. If the government tells you don't preach the gospel, you can disobey the government. If the government tells you to sin, you can disobey the government. But if the government has a law that you just don't like or that it's not a favorite thing, if the Bible doesn't say that it's a sin, then I think that we need to submit to the government. So there you have, without your presuppositions, direct and indirect, but we've got a few steps to go to determine guns, self-defense, and the Christian next.